can I have another wine?
You're listening to the Giggle Gang podcast.
I don't know what I'm talking about.
If you want it, just come get it.
A Giggle Gang podcast.
Just be myself.
For fuck's sake.
You know, sometimes people pay me to say ridiculous shit, and sometimes I just say it for free.
Jesus Christ.
You're listening to the Giggle Gang podcast.
2.5 years ago, almost
Really?
almost 3 years ago. Yeah.
And is your hair colour naturally blonde?
No, you can see the roots. So
So it's dark.
coming in. I want to go like as white as possible.
Okay.
My hair, I should clarify.
He's gonna go full Michael Jackson.
But it's like I want to get it done properly so it doesn't damage the hair with like the constant bleaching. So I get it done at a salon. It's like 125 a pop. So it's a lot of money.
£125
A pop, yeah. So
to get your hair dyed.
yeah, and like it needs because I'm so like naturally brown haired. It's like a couple of goes before it gets to where I want it to get to.
How many hours does that take? Does it take a long time?
5 hours for the first one, and then about 3 hours for the second one.
Is this all in one period of time?
No, this is over the course of like 2 different appointments.
Okay.
Yeah.
And that total cost at 8 hours is 125.
No, 250. It's 125 each.
Oh my god.
Yeah.
Okay. And then how often do you have to get the roots done?
Well, I'm still trying to get to the actual white hair part of it. Have we
Right.
started? Oh,
Yeah. No. Definitely. This is it, mate.
oh right.
This is as
I
good as it gets.
had like a bit I was going to do like when you introduced me or whatever.
Oh no, I don't do that shit. Have you ever listened to this podcast before?
No.
Oh right. Okay. That's fine. You and a lot of other people. No.
I was going to like in preparation for this, and then I forgot because
I don't do intros,
Okay.
Because what this allows an audience, whoever they want to be involved with a conversation that me and you are having. The reason I have a small microphone and not like other people that do podcasts that have big microphones on big stands and it hangs in front of your face, because that's really invasive, right? That is so low profile that I can look you in the eyes and you don't even know we're recording, right? I look at this, I look at that, you don't look at that, and we're just involved in a conversation here. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it's for that, and that's the reason why I don't go, welcome back to the Giggle Gang podcast. My name's Matt Shaw, and with me today is Umby Winters. Woo! You know what I mean? Because that's just fucking gay. Like,
all right. Well, let's. Okay. Let's first of all.
I didn't mean to jump into this chat like that, but I did want to have a chat to you about homosexuality and trans and all this situation that's going on, because excuse my ignorance, but I don't understand it.
But
I'm willing to learn.
We're taking pictures after this, and I haven't got makeup on, so I'm just going to be applying my makeup.
That's fine.
The conversation.
Can you still talk while you apply makeup?
Oh yeah, definitely. I can. This can be like an ASMR type of podcast.
Don't you have to be like still? Because I know whenever Hazel's doing her like eyebrows and whatever, she was like she won't let me touch her or like kiss her. So
I think that's just a you problem.
Are you saying that you're like better at makeup?
Oh God, no, not even a little bit. I am I don't care as much.
Okay.
Like, because for me, like, I just sort of wear makeup because a couple of my jokes revolve around coming across as feminine.
Okay.
And so I just need to really apply enough makeup that audiences take a look at me and go, okay, so not a man, not a whole man right here. I basically just need to get across the idea of some kind of femininity.
So what do you identify as?
I identify as non-binary, so not really a man or a woman.
Okay.
For the longest time, I thought I was a trans woman, and then after that, I thought I might be gender fluid, which is sort of when you can be like sort of.
You need to slow down and explain the differences to me.
Okay, so you know what transgender is, yes?
Yes.
Yeah.
So can when you give me these, can I give you my definition and then you can correct me?
Yeah, sure.
Because my definition may be the definition shared by a number of our listeners that really don't know. So my identification of trans is someone who was born in the wrong body. So let's say I was born as Matt Shaw, in a boy's body. However, I identify or feel like inside in my brain that I'm actually a girl.
Yeah.
Or a woman per se.
Yeah.
So I typically undergo a change in my appearance, hormone treatment, and what have you, to make that transition from what is happening in my mind transforms then into my physical body, so I can be a true girl. If I was a male transitioning.
Yeah, so that, I mean, you basically nailed it.
Oh, thank you.
Like, yeah, so for people who are just, straight up 100% trans, that is pretty much it. They have the, the sort of this idea in their mind of, who they are, and their body doesn't reflect that. Whether it be, because of the sort of, genetic sort of structure, the build-up that comes with, having a XX chromosomes versus XY chromosomes, or, having a certain set of genitals. And it just sort of, it causes body dysphoria even, where, like, sort of, I know a couple of trans people who they shower with the lights off because they hate looking at their own body.
Wow.
Like that much. It causes them that much upset.
Okay.
So those people, they will do the hormones, they will do the voice training if they're male to female. They will.
What's the voice training? Is this to learn to speak like a woman or a man?
Yeah, so if you're transitioning from a female to a male,
okay,
you'll find that the testosterone hormones that you take will automatically just make your voice deeper.
Yeah. Okay.
And that will naturally then, people listening to you might just be like, oh, this is a man.
Okay.
Whereas if you are male to female,
it's harder to
estrogen
go higher pitch.
Estrogen does not like tighten your vocal cords back up. It doesn't make your voice higher.
Yeah.
So male to females need to go through, like, well, they don't need to, but obviously if they want to pass, then they have to go through this sort of extraneous, in some cases, like quite painful, years-long conditioning of their voice, where they learn not only how to like up the pitch in a way that makes it more comfortable for them, but also like there's flow, like and this is all obviously like painting with a broad brush, but in general, women have a sort of smoother, rounder sounds to their words, and so like these trans women need to learn how to speak with that more feminine flow. And
there's proper people that their full-time job, they're almost like a speech therapist or a speech pathologist that teach people how to speak like a woman.
Yeah, so there are, I know a couple of voice coaches,
okay,
and they don't specialize in that, but you can approach them and you can be like, I want to, instead of saying, I want to learn this accent for this role, you can be like, I want to use these sessions to learn how to transition my voice, to train it to sound more feminine. There are people who do specialize in that exclusively. They're more expensive because they're presumably better. Like I asked my friend who was a vocal coach but not a specialist, can you give me the contact for your friend who is a specialist in male to female voice coaching, and it was £90 for an hour session. So I was like, I'm good.
Is that really expensive? See, I would think, if I think about it in Australian dollars, that's like $174.
Yeah,
that's a fair bit, isn't it?
I mean, yeah, you are booking in with a specialist.
Do you want a little bit of water for your?
No, it's fine. Like I said, I really don't take the makeup that seriously. It's
He's
just,
legitimately. Sorry. They're legitimately like applying like full blown. Is it foundation?
Foundation, yeah.
Like right as we speak.
Like liquid foundation as well. So yeah, I don't need the water. So for me, for example, I actually quite like my voice, and because I'm not a trans woman, and I'm not in the process of fully transitioning to be a complete woman, 100%, never look back. Like I don't feel the need to actually change my voice. I quite like it. It's quite unique and distinctive.
It is. If you rang me on the phone, I would know it was you.
Like I would worry that sort of if I went through this sort of voice feminization, it would. I might like sort of lose some of the characteristics that I really like about my voice. That's not to say I'll never take the classes or the sessions, because I do have a interest in voice acting in general, and I would like to be able to expand my range. But I wouldn't be so I wouldn't be taking those courses for like gender reasons. So I wouldn't go to a specialist because I feel like the specialists should be not reserved per se, but like I wouldn't want to take up space in a specialist's calendar that someone who is actually transitioning might need. you know?
Right. Okay, that makes sense.
So that's trans.
Okay. So can you explain to me non-binary?
Yeah. Basically,
And I apologise for messing up the pronouns before, but
That's all right.
I've never really had to think about it, if that makes sense.
no, and that's I'm totally chill about it. I will correct you, but I won't be like, "How dare you?" Blah blah.
I don't think we could be friends if that was the case.
Yeah.
I don't think I'd be able to handle it. If you were just constantly screaming at me, "How dare you!
How dare
you insensitive bastard!"
So yeah, non-binary. Like, how's the easiest way to describe it to a simpleton?
Well, you have an hour to describe it if it needs to take an hour. I want to also understand non-binary as a concept and how it applies to you specifically.
Sure.
So the blanket definition and then Umby.
So I guess like the blanket definition for non-binary is just someone who does not really identify or feel like, you know, the label man or woman applies to them. Like, if someone says to you, someone says to me, Umby Winters, are you a man? Like, it would feel weird and wrong for me to say yes. Like, it would feel weird and wrong for you to say I am a woman. Right?
Okay.
Like, that you'd say that and you just intrinsically know in yourself that's not true.
Okay.
It's like if I say I am a man, it's that same feeling. If I say I am a woman, it's that same feeling. It just feels intrinsically untrue when I say it.
So, I'm aware at the moment, well not at the moment, but recently, there was this thing that there's 72 genders and there's all the different signs for them. Is that part of the same bracket?
So, there's not 72 genders.
I think I might have made the number up.
But like, essentially what non-binary people want people to understand is that at the end of the day, there is biological sex.
Mm-hmm.
Like I am a born, male,
mm-hmm.
but there is gender, which is it's made up.
Okay.
Like biological sex.
That makes a fuckload of sense right there. So there's biological sex, what you're born, and then gender is what you feel.
Yeah. So there's actually there's three. There's the biological sex,
mm-hmm.
which is what you physically are, and that is your biological makeup.
Yep.
There is your gender identity, which is what you identify as. So you, for example, identify as a man.
And all the things that go along with being a man.
Well, we'll get to that.
Okay.
And then there is your gender expression. So
okay.
Yeah, I can see you getting.
Okay.
No.
So I'm trying to figure out what gender expression is. Do I have a gender expression?
Generally speaking,
is it the fact that I'm wearing a boxing shirt and some board shorts?
You express yourself in the way that society would deem you to be presenting as male.
Okay.
Like you present as male. You know, you have the short hair, which is so aggressively associated with men and lesbians.
Okay.
You've got no fashion sense. You don't wear makeup. You present yourself as male.
Okay.
But the problem with that concept is that what non-binary people want to sort of get across is that that's all bollocks.
All made up.
You know, you can be a biological man, and you can wear makeup, and you can wear dresses, and you can wear and you can skip through fields of flowers and hate sports and go shopping and all the things associated with, being a woman.
Yeah.
For the listeners, I'm doing air quotes.
Yeah.
But you can still, you can do all that, still identify as a man.
Mm-hmm.
Still identify as I'm a manly man, and I love being a man.
Well, I am a manly man,
Yeah.
but a manly man that also did ballroom dancing in high school.
Yeah.
And ballroom dancing was heavily associated with women.
Yeah, of course.
And it wasn't seen, or homosexual men.
Yes.
And it was a thing for me to be a straight man doing dancing because I just enjoyed it. I enjoyed the physical aspect of it, and I also enjoyed the discipline and the difficulty of learning steps, the same way in which I enjoy the difficulty and discipline in learning a boxing combination.
Yeah.
In regards to a fighting aspect, which is a very masculine sport, combine them with a very feminine activity, boxing and dancing. There's so many similarities between the work hand position, where your body needs to be, and being able to move in such a way to successfully execute either a left, right, hook combination, or whether it's a pretzel or a pirouette or
Yeah.
whatever the move is.
So my sort of what I'm getting at is that, like, for non-binary people, and I don't speak for all of us.
Okay.
And also, I'm like, I live it, but I'm not an expert in the subject. So please take everything I say on this podcast with a heavy grain of salt.
Well, everything that you say applies to you. I feel
Applies
like
to me,
when you
yeah.
speak about, like, even I can't sit here and I've never been asked to speak on behalf of all men.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Because there's plenty out there. And when you speak to me, you know that I'm only having my experiences. But I feel like in your position, when you're in a smaller group of society, when I ask you questions or others ask you questions, maybe we ask in such a way where it's expected that you're the gospel and you speak for everybody because your group is smaller.
It's like, yeah, I'm genuinely glad to be answering these questions, and I'm glad that you've asked me these questions on this podcast. But, like, part of me is terrified because I'm like, I'm a fucking idiot.
Maybe I'll say the wrong thing and we'll all be fucked.
I don't want to be the representative for non-binary people, for all however many people listen to the Giggle Gang podcast. I don't want to be, the source of their... I want you to, like, listen to me talk and go, oh, that sounds interesting, but they made no sense. I think I'll go away and do some research on my own. Like, if you have questions, please look it up on, like, reputable scientific journals. Do not listen. Do not take my word as law.
How much information are there in reputable scientific journals about non-binary? Are there studies that have been done?
There are, like, I mean, for a start, gender studies is, like, a major, field in...
Is that a new thing?
No, I wouldn't say so. Like, gender studies has been around for
At
decades.
university, or...?
Not necessarily at UK universities, but I know that definitely you can, like, major in gender studies in, like, US colleges and stuff.
Okay.
And yeah, there have been lots of, because it is, it's a fascinating aspect of our society and our humanity is our relationship with gender and sort of the niches and the stereotypes that go along with that. And there have been like dozens, if not literally hundreds, of studies about the gender binary, gender spectrum, all of that. And by all means, like, go and read about it yourself, because despite living it, I'm not really knowledgeable enough about it. Like, I'm only knowledgeable about, as you said, my own experiences. And B, like, I get asked these kind of questions at least once a week.
Okay.
By very well-meaning individuals. I'm very tired of answering these questions.
Well, maybe this might be an opportunity for you to answer them in such an environment where you have an open platform, a recorded platform, with a trained and professional interviewer, right, who comes in with a very open mind to let you answer these questions in such a way. And that's what I wanted to get you on to do, is to really understand, one, how it pertains to you, and two, how it would pertain to others, and how me and the audience should be interacting in these environments. Because even in the first 6 minutes, I fucked up. Do you know what I mean? So,
well, to be fair, like, I never specified that my pronouns are they them.
Okay.
So it's not like you you went, oh, what are your pronouns, and I went they them, and then later on you went, oh, he. Which even then, like, that's understandable, because they them is a very, like, it's a
very foreign thing to say.
It's to a lot of people. So
Is it the etiquette to ask what the pronouns are?
generally speaking, and this is something I do say with, like, confidence, and I will speak on behalf of most, if not all, non-binary people.
Whoa, here we go.
Yeah,
here he goes.
Yeah, here we go. Here's one of the few things I know.
That's the big statement.
What we want to normalise asking people what their preferred pronouns are, even if it seems like it should be obvious. Okay. I did the Great Yorkshire Fringe a couple of weeks ago, and during my heat, the compere was a sort of this openly gay comic from London, and so he's from this very sort of open and supportive and progressive area, and so before the show he came up to me and he said, okay, so what are your preferred pronouns? And I went, they them. Can I just check them? Because I was the only person there presenting as non-binary and identifying as non-binary, and I was just like, just just checking, like, am I the only person you're going to ask that to? And he was like, no, I am going to ask that to everyone. And then sure enough, he did go and he asked everyone what their preferred pronouns were. And David Eagle was in that heat as well. And he said to me afterward, he was like, oh, you know, when the compere came up to me and sort of asked what my preferred pronouns were, I was like, surely it's obvious. You know, I'm not wearing a dress. I'm, you know, wearing a button-down shirt, and I've got short hair, and I'm my name's David, and you know. But then he was like,
I've just actually realised as you're telling that story, your voice is not dissimilar to David Eagle's.
Well,
voice. Are you guys from like the same part of the world?
No, he's from Sheffield, so it's about. It's not too far from where I live. But actually, I don't sound too dissimilar because I'm fighting the urge to do my David Eagle impression. I do a really good David Eagle impression. Do it. Okay, so I'll backtrack. It was like, yeah, so David Eagle came up to me after the show and he was like, oh, you know, it was really weird. The guy came up to me and he was like, excuse me, what are your personal pronouns? And I was like, oh, fuck, am I wearing a dress?
Spot on!
So he was like,
David Eagle's a blind comedian for Australian listeners. He's great. He plays an accordion. Continue.
And he was like, but then I thought, oh, that's quite insensitive of me, you know, because maybe I do, you know, sort of I identify as she, her, or they, them, but my gender expression is one of, you know, short hair and plaid shirt. So actually, I was very glad that he came up, and you know, it was a learning experience for David. Like, he wasn't expecting to be asked his preferred pronouns, but he felt like sort of he realised the necessity and sort of how good it is to normalise it. So I'm really thankful to that compere. So thankful that I've forgotten his name. Friends with him on Facebook, and I can't remember his name off the top of my head. But
oh my gosh,
you know, just this idea of asking people their preferred pronouns, even when it seems like it should be obvious, because not everyone is going to have the pronoun that you would automatically associate with their gender expression, and it's better, it's more comfortable, it just creates a more sort of open and inclusive world if you do that. And it's such a small thing that you can do. Just when you meet someone new, hey, you know, what's your name, where you're from, what do you like to do for fun, what are your pronouns? You know, it's like it's just something you can sort of slip into the conversations when you're like meeting someone for the first time. And it sort of, first of all, avoids a potentially embarrassing slip up later when you like say something and go, oh, actually my pronouns are, you know, blah blah blah. You know, it just sort of cuts that off at the nib. And second, it's better for trans non-binary people because it allows us to sort of get in ahead of that. And also, you know, because you might feel awkward if you're like, oh, you know, he, him, and then someone goes, actually it's they. And you might go, oh, how embarrassing, I feel so embarrassed. I guarantee you the trans and non-binary person feels like not just awkward, but potentially like, now I could correct you and I'll try and do it without sounding like a dick, but if you are violently against my lifestyle, you might murder me. So like it's you know, it's one of those things.
I get you. And as well, I think even for me, I feel, because I've not done it, if that makes sense, I would feel awkward about even just asking what someone's preferred pronouns are, but then what you said there is I feel more awkward if I just assume and then they're wrong.
Yeah, exactly.
Do you know what I mean?
And you know, there's that like old and hackneyed joke of like people making fun of trans and non-binary people by saying, oh, did you just assume my gender? Did you just assume my gender? No trans / non-binary person is going to say that because first of all, it's really dickish, and second of all, like,
where did that come from then?
That joke, just sort of right-wing and
Is it comedians that did it, or?
No, I've seen a couple of comedians do it, and even if I wasn't like against it sort of morally, I'm just like, that's not your joke, that's just something that's been taken off the internet. You're just quoting a meme, which is like, you know, I don't think any comic should do with any meme, you know, because it's not original. But like, it's lazy, and it's not even true. Like, I guarantee you, they'll, like, people who say that have never met a, you know, trans or any person who's actually said that, and like, did you just assume my gender? How dare you just assume my gender? Because to be in a position where you are like trans, non-binary, even like, you know, your sexuality is different, you know, if you're gay, bi, pan, whatever, like correcting people, even if you do it politely, is always a risk because you never really know how people are going to react. Like people can seem very open and left leaning and liberal, but you can be like, oh, actually, I identify as a woman and I'm transitioning. And so people can just they can turn on you. They can just be like, oh, you're fucking one of them, or you're fucking one of them. So correcting people is it's a walking on eggshells thing for trans and non-binary people. So the whole, did you just assume my gender, is such a, just wrong. It's just wrong. Like there's none of us that do that. And if there are any of us that do that, they're brave and a dick. Right. they're brave and they're also a dick.
So where's been a time, I'm sure there's been plenty, but has there been a time that's really stood out for you where you have faced almost violent or aggressive backlash to,
No, I am incredibly lucky in that I've always lived in very left-leaning or liberal areas. Very
Is Manchester left-leaning?
Oh, Manchester, yeah. I mean, Manchester, definitely compared to other cities in the UK. Manchester is very metropolitan. It's all groovy. Everyone here is, very cool about all that stuff. I come from Newcastle, which generally wouldn't assume to be.
He's from Hartlepool.
David.
Yeah. I just remember.
I'm from Newcastle, Gateshead specifically, which you wouldn't immediately assume to be But it's
vindicated.
Yeah, it's the north. People are just chill up there. They don't care what gender you are, what sexuality you are, as long as you support the right football team. Okay. So I'm from I've been very lucky, and my family's all very supportive of it. Even if they don't understand, they're all very supportive of it. Okay. So I've actually been very lucky in that I have not been subjected to any violence or aggression based on my gender expression, but the unfortunate thing is that I have to follow that up with yet. I've not had that yet.
Is it an actual, not fear, but is it a thing that plays in the back of your mind, and maybe there might be people that are close to you that do experience that, and you think, oh shit, that could be me?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. I've definitely got friends who go through it. But again, since most of my friends in this country are from the areas I've lived.
When you say in this country, what other countries have you been in?
I'll get to that. My friends in this country, not. So I've got friends in other countries. I'm saying my friends in this country, are all from areas that I've lived. So similarly, left-leaning liberal areas. Right. So they also have experienced minimal to no violence. But it's my friends in America who. Right.
Have you been to America?
I've been to America, but I've not been to America and presented as non-binary. Right. Mainly because the first time I went, I was 6. Okay. And then the second time I went was last year, but I went to Portland and I knew that was fine. Okay. But I have friends who live even in San Francisco, an extremely liberal area. But they were polyamorous genderqueer. There wasn't a cishet among them. 5 of them living in this apartment, but they had to move because their neighbours were aggressively violent towards them.
Really?
Yeah.
Interesting.
They had to do a Kickstarter to get out of that flat because they were genuinely fearful for their life.
Jesus Christ.
Yeah.
In San Francisco as well. That's madness. But I wanted to talk to you as well about your opinions on non-binary and trans when it comes to sport.
Okay, sure.
So there's obviously been a lot of news articles, and I can speak personally about what I know. Are you familiar with a cage fighter called Fallon Fox?
I'm not.
Okay. Was born as a man, biologically a man, was a man up until the age of 28. Okay. Went through a period of transition from 28 to 31. 32 became a cage fighter. Now is 35, literally just bashing women.
Yeah.
Any opinion on that? Identifies as a woman.
Here's my hot take.
Okay.
In this world, in this glorious society that we live in, there will be times when you are presented with a complex question, and I think we as a society need to be able to look ourselves in the eye and know when to say, I don't know enough about this subject to feel comfortable delivering an opinion. I don't follow any sport outside of the NFL. I know what the sort of, I can gather just from sort of the tone, and I've seen sort of this discussion happening around Caster Semenya as well, who obviously that's a different bag of fish entirely, because she identifies as a woman. She's just got sort of different hormone build-up.
What's Caster? I don't know who Caster.
Caster Semenya is I think she's a sprinter or a marathoner. She's a runner basically, and even though she born a woman, identifies as a woman, she's got this. And again, I know very little. This is just what I've picked up from social media. She's got like more testosterone just naturally. She naturally produces more testosterone than any other woman in her
She's
field.
a biological woman.
She's a biological woman
with a high testosterone. Is she on steroids?
That was a big question, but no, I believe she has been cleared of that.
Really?
She just naturally produces a lot of testosterone.
Really?
And there has been a big debate recently, and like a lot of controversy, because like she's been disallowed from running in women's races.
Right.
Again,
has she been winning a lot of races?
Yeah, she's really great.
Right. Okay. That's the other problem.
Yeah.
If they're really good.
But again, this is something that I don't know enough about to like feel like I can contribute or should contribute to this discussion.
Let me ask you one question straight. It's a yes or no answer, right?
Yes.
Should sports allow competitors to compete as what they identify as, or what they are what they were born as biologically?
I believe yes. First of all, that's not a yes or no question.
Sorry, there's two options. It's two options.
Yeah. You've given me a binary. How dare you?
I know how much you hate them.
I personally believe that athletes should be allowed to compete as the gender that they identify with. Okay. But I understand that it's not a black and white issue. I don't know enough to go into any more detail than that.
Do you think, let me just continue on this for one more point, because I want to get some sort of agreement out of you. Do you think when it comes to a case of running, right, I am totally with you. Right? If a man identifies as a woman and wants to run in a race, fine, because nobody gets hurt. Right?
Yeah.
If it's a cage fight, right, a biological woman fights a biological man who has long hair and identifies as a woman, somebody gets hurt. Yeah. And it's typically the woman. The biological woman.
Here's the thing. So despite my identity, I'm a biological man. Mm-hmm. If
you could beat me in a fight.
if I stepped into a cage with bloody
Ronda Rousey.
Yeah, Ronda Rousey, I'd get my arse kicked. I think when it comes to any sport, it is about the training. And I know that obviously, your biological makeup is going to play into that a little bit, but at the end of the day, like if this woman is who was born a man, is wiping the floor with her opponents, maybe she's just better.
But it's because she's a man.
But she's not though.
No, but she had testosterone pumped through her body for 27 years.
Right, but you say she's been transitioning for...
She transitioned, I believe it was 3 years.
The hormone and taking hormones, I imagine.
I believe so. I wasn't there when she took them, but yes, I believe so.
The hormones will have had an effect on the body.
Okay.
She would have had testosterone pumped around her body for 27 years or whatever. But
have you taken the hormones?
I am on the waiting list to take the hormones. Unfortunately, it's a 40-month waiting list. 40 month list to even get an appointment with a gender clinic, and I am currently 8 months into that 40-month waiting list, so I'll be another 3 years before I can even get my hands on some estrogen, which is so...
Why is the wait? Because the demand is so high?
No, because I did the maths, and even if there was only one doctor seeing one patient every hour for 8 hours a day, 5 days a week, so not working weekends or overtime, he would still see 6,000 patients over the course of 40 months, and I imagine there's more than one doctor in this country doing that, and I very much doubt that there's 6,000 times that many doctors. So I'm just going to assume because the NHS is underfunded,
right?
Critically underfunded, and then under a Tory government, gender clinics are not exactly a priority.
Yes, I understand that. in regards to...
Drop my mirror, I'm so sorry.
That's okay. In regards to the hormones,
Yeah.
to get your hands on some estrogen,
Yeah.
would that not then lend itself more towards a feminine female point of view? Does that change your identity if you're now having estrogen? Do you understand where I'm going?
Yeah. So, like I said, I'm not a trans woman.
Mm-hmm.
I don't identify as a trans woman.
Yeah.
I do still want to get on hormones because I still have a degree of body dysphoria. I still don't like how male my body is.
Okay. Because you have the fillet. The fillet boobs, which you've thrown at me before at a gig.
Yeah. I don't like that. If I had to pick one, if it came down to a binary, I would prefer to be a woman.
Okay.
I would prefer to be perceived and identified by others as a woman.
Okay.
So even though there is, I'm outside of or in between the binary or however you want to look at it, I don't identify as either or. I am unless you are extremely knowledgeable in the subject or aware of non-binary people or etc. The random Joe on the street is going to look at me and assume I'm just a man in a skirt. I want that to change. I want the random Joe to look at me in the street to look at me and just assume, if they must assume one or the other, I want them to assume I'm a woman.
Okay.
Because your gender identity is kind of tied into how you are perceived, also known as your gender perception, and how much of your body dysphoria affects you can really be influenced by how the general public sort of automatically categorizes you.
Okay.
And so for me, being automatically sort of gendered as a man, even if I've got the makeup on, even if I've got the dress on, even if blah 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 blah, like that, it I don't want to say it hurts, but it sucks. You know what I mean?
I have another yes or no question for you.
How dare you?
Do you think that homosexuality is accepted by the general public now, today, in 2019, August?
The general public, yes. Yes, I do.
Okay. Do you think that trans is accepted by the general public today?
I would honestly, I would need to look at a scientifically done survey.
No, but I just want your opinion.
My opinion, yes.
Interesting.
Yes, but it is it's closer to 50-50 than I'd like.
Okay. And do you think that non-binary is accepted by the general public today?
General public, probably not. There are those who are aware of it, and even those are probably in the minority. And even among those who are aware of it, there are those who just think it's liberal nonsense, or don't agree with it, or just think it's a mental illness. So no, I would say non-binary stuff is probably not accepted by the general public.
Okay. Now, thinking about your lifetime, can I ask how old you are, Umby?
25.
25. Okay.
And a half.
You're a year older than I am.
I am.
So, in our lifetimes, is it fair to say there has been a great shift in the perception of LGBT in society?
Yes.
Do you think that within our lifetimes again, so within another 25 years, non-binary can get to the same point? As a quick answer, when I said to you, do they accept homosexuality, and you said yes straight away, do you think that non-binary can get there in another 25 years?
Certainly hope so. I believe it could.
Okay.
But it'll take a lot of sort of fighting on our part, protests, promotions, and obviously we need our allies as well, our cis allies.
Your cis allies?
Cisgender, people who, like yourself, identify as the biological sort of sex they were born with. Cisgender, yeah. Because cisgender, it's you've got transgender and you've got cisgender and you've got so you're cisgender, you're a cisgender male.
What does cis mean? Just one?
Cis, I believe it just means same.
Right, okay.
I don't know the actual Latin or Greek, but
right, okay.
I don't even know if it's Latin or Greek.
I've never heard that term before.
Well, yeah, exactly. because the alternative is to call you normal, which obviously then promotes its own, bag of problems, because it's you can be trans or you can be normal. So
right.
There's trans and then there's cisgender.
Okay.
And it's like
How is it spelled?
CIS gender.
CIS.
Yeah, NCIS.
NCIS. NCIS gender.
Yeah.
I just love naval crime investigation. So, when you say it's going to require you and non-binary people across the world to fight, explain to me what the fight is and how you fight.
It's hard.
Are you fighting now by doing this podcast and publicly talking about it? Is that part of the fight?
I didn't intend to. I didn't intend to be talking about it for such length. But like making people aware of it. That is fight makes it sound more like aggressive than it needs to be.
Yeah.
Which is why I sort of hummed and hawed before settling on that word. But yeah, it's educating. It's gently educating, and that's how my role in the fight is, using comedy for it, and like, because you've seen my set, right?
Absolutely. And
Yeah.
do you feel like it's more of a fight, not because you're coming with aggression, but because you have so much pushback?
Because there's so much pushback. There is a lot of pushback, both in sort of the general public's sort of like, I don't know, feels a bit sort of snowflakey, and then like in terms of, politicians like and bills and like laws and stuff like that. So.
Okay. How do you perceive that it's not snowflakey, or how do you argue that it's not a mental illness, or that there's not something wrong with you?
Well, the mental illness thing, again, there have been studies. Like, there have been actual scientific studies to prove that transgenderism and gender identities outside of cisgender are not mental illnesses.
Okay.
Like, just straight up, there have been scientific studies, and I will leave that part at that. As for like the sort of social aspect of it, because it just feels right.
Okay.
It just feels like, I feel for the first time I identified as non-binary like from last year. Before then, I was gender fluid for a couple of years, and then before that,
What's the difference between gender fluid?
We'll get to that. I'll finish this point first. But for the first time, like when I started identifying as non-binary, that was the first time, literally in 25 years, that I've actually felt comfortable in myself.
Okay.
Comfortable with what I identify as in my gender and my like I said, there's still a bit of the body dysphoria, but like I feel comfortable for the first time with sort of how I identify and how I present to the world.
Okay.
And so that's why I know it doesn't feel snowflakey, because it feels right. Now, what is gender fluid?
Okay.
Non-binary is what I am.
Yeah.
And that is just, I basically feel sort of
neither.
Sort of like, and it's also the umbrella term as well.
Do you feel, I know you're going to get to gender fluid, but I have another question.
Sure.
Do you feel like non-binary is an identity to belong to in itself?
Yeah, in the same way that,
like male and female and non-binary?
Yeah, and in the same way that, like, homosexuals identify, as homosexual, and there's a sort of culture around it, the same with like sort of lesbians and lesbian culture, and bisexual culture. It's just another minority group, and that with it.
But that's a sexuality. That's not a gender. Non-binary is not a sexuality, is it?
No, it's not. But it's another minority group, and so with that comes like its own culture. Just because there will be unifying experiences that will have happened to most or
and I
all
think
of us.
What you said about you saying I'm a man doesn't feel right, and you saying I'm a woman, so you're just somewhere in between, so they just put you in that group.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? You can't go this way or this way, so you just have to go this way.
Yeah.
Is that is that satisfying enough for you?
For me personally, yeah, because after 24 years of trying to find a label that fit, as soon as I found non-binary and it was good enough, I was like, fuck it. I was just like, this works for me. I'm not going to push it any further. Like, I don't need I don't need to get any more specific than this. I'm non-binary, that feels right to say.
And the pronouns they, them.
The pronouns they, them, they feel right. Like I said, my family are all very understanding, they're very loving. They still my dad still refers to me as son, my sister still refers to me as her brother. There's no hate in their heart, it's just because that's what they knew for the first 24 years of my life. So
that makes sense.
Harder for them to sort of get around that. But like in those moments where they do slip up, it like my skin crawls. Like when my dad calls me son, my skin crawls. And it, it's not not his fault or anything. It just, that's how I know it that non-binary is right and that they them is right, because when people refer to me as such, my skin doesn't crawl.
Okay. No, that makes sense. So explain to me gender fluid then.
So
gender fluid is,
look at like so people assume gender is a binary. You've got man and you've got woman, 1 and 0. It's not. Gender's a spectrum.
okay.
Gender fluid, in its simplest form, and again, you will get different answers depending on who you ask, but in its simplest form, it just means that at any given moment where you are on that spectrum changes.
Okay.
Like, so for me, when I thought I was gender fluid, it would sort of happen where I would wake up some days and I'd be like, I feel quite, he, him. I could, like, someone could refer to me as he, him, and it might not, kill me. And I can wear jeans and a crappy t-shirt and go out with like short hair and
like me,
and people can perceive me as male, and I would be all right with that. Or I would wake up another day and I'd be like, I want to wear dresses, I want my hair to be flowing, and I want to be in makeup, and I want people to refer to me as a woman. But like for my partner, for example, who still identifies as gender fluid, they change like several times a fucking day.
Okay.
And it's not like a decision, like a conscious decision. They'll just be like, be sitting on the couch, and they'll have because they're born female, so they'll have their binder on to like, press their boobs down, and they'll just be like, beans, and I'll be like, what? And they'll be like, got to take my binder off. I'm feeling particularly feminine at the minute, want to let the girls breathe.
Okay.
It's an oversimplification, but it is. Like, again, it depends on who you ask.
So from my perspective, I've never had to think, what am I feeling today?
Yeah.
I'm so strongly tethered to being a male that I've never even considered, today I'm feeling a bit girly.
Yeah. And again, this all like the whole problem with that is that so much of like, what is masculine, what is feminine, it's tied to these stereotypes. And I truly believe that if we never had those stereotypes, like if we never, categorized men do this, women do this, I don't think there would be, like, at the very least, like, there'd still be non-binary, there'd still be people who identify as sort of neither. Because that goes back far beyond, like, if you ever read about two spirits, in sort of Native American tribes, like that predates sort of gender stereotypes and what is masculine, what is feminine. But I believe that there wouldn't be such a hubbub, which is a word, about like gender fluid people, because they could feel like they needed to, they could feel like they could express themselves in a feminine way without needing this sort of feminine identifier. You know what I mean? I think it's just because as our culture is so ingrained in men do this, women do this, men look like this, women look like this. You know what I mean?
So you also said as well, so you're not gender fluid and you're not trans.
Yeah.
So that sort of left you with, is there any other option other than non-binary?
Yeah, there's agender,
Okay.
which is, so like I said, non-binary is sort of, I feel, kind of and non-binary, again, is the umbrella term.
Okay.
So anyone who's not cis, and some people would say trans aren't non-binary because they've got one, they got a gender.
They've chosen the opposite.
Well, they haven't chosen, but you know what I mean.
Yeah.
But there are some who are also like, fuck it, in the same way that queer is an umbrella term for anyone under the sort of sexuality spectrum, non-binary is for anyone who's not cisgendered, basically. So that's a whole other argument. But non-binary is, for me personally, it's the identifier I use, but it can also be the umbrella term for anyone who's not cisgendered.
Right.
But so there's agender, which is basically when you feel like gender just doesn't apply to you at all. So you're not even non-binary. You're fucking nothing. Like you are just you exist, and you have your interests, and you have your personality, and you are you. But
it's like asexual.
Like asexual, yeah.
Right.
Just
Have you ever met an asexual?
Yeah, got tons.
Interesting. Because I won't say it here, but we'll talk about it afterwards.
Okay, sure. So there's agender, there's sort of bigender, which is when you're sort of you can sort of be essentially a combination of both masculine and feminine, but the term non-binary doesn't feel right for you. It's not about it. They all largely overlap, but the distinctions matter to the different people who
to the individuals.
Yeah, the distinctions matter, and so let them have their labels. Basically, they all largely overlap, but there are distinctions, and those matter to the people those distinctions apply to.
So I wanted to ask: does a non-binary person, do they have a coming out type party similar to what a gay person would have? You know how like the coming out thing is like what the
what the gays? I know that's what you wanted to say.
That's like that thing, and like whenever you talk to gay people, it's like, oh, tell me about how you came out to your family. Is it do you have the same? Is it the same thing?
No, with my family specifically, it was Christmas Eve, and we were having a couple of drinks. This was before I stopped drinking, and I was
stopped drinking.
We'll get to that. I was just I had a couple. I wasn't drunk, but I was like comfortable. You know, I was like I can share some secrets.
Big secret.
Yeah, and I was like, hey, just so you know, I booked an appointment with my local GP to get a referral to a gender clinic. I'm not a trans woman, but I am non-binary, so I'm going to see about getting on the hormones. And that was like literally verbatim what I said to them. And then my parents were just like, all right.
How long ago was this?
This was Christmas Eve, just gone.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Okay. So before then, what was... Because when did... Was it Christmas Eve that you became non-binary? You publicly went non-binary?
No. That was just when I told my family.
So when did when was the point where you were comfortable in being non-binary, or where was the point where you were identifying as a man and you thought this is not right? Was it like from when you were born?
Oh God, separate 100 different moments that are all like sort of built up into like there is no like big shining I am not a man moment. There's just there's just sort of the slow creeping realization that this identifier might not be right.
And did you feel like you couldn't share that with anyone, and things would happen and you would be like, this doesn't feel right, but you couldn't share it because it wasn't as normalized as it is now?
So there's like I was just really worried of being accused of like, it's a phase. Which in a way, like, because I was, I thought I was a trans woman.
Yeah.
And then that turned out to not be correct. And I thought I was gender fluid, and that turned out to not be correct. In a way, I'm glad I didn't come out until I was non-binary, because I didn't want to give my parents and my family this sort of, you have to get used to this and call me this and blah blah blah, until I knew what I was. Okay. My friends could all deal with it because my friends are all very liberal and they can shift like the wind, Okay. If I said to them, actually I was wrong, I am actually a trans woman, can you call me she her, they'd all be calling me she her by tomorrow.
Right, okay.
But with my family it takes a little bit more time, not because they're ignorant or blah blah blah, just because they're old fashioned and they don't know as much about this as my friends do. So I didn't want to let them know until I was certain.
Okay.
And then when I became certain, I let them know.
So when you were identifying as a trans woman, in the back of your head you were like, maybe this is not it?
Maybe, I was like, maybe this isn't it. But at the time I didn't know about non-binary. Right. I didn't know about I thought there was only you are either a man or a woman or a trans man or a trans woman. I thought those were the only options.
So all you knew was that you weren't a man.
Yeah, and so I thought, well, then clearly I must be.
You must be a woman.
Yeah.
Okay, and then the realization of I don't have to be a man or a woman. I can be non-binary. That was where you found your peace.
Exactly.
Okay.
And that's okay. To bring it back round, that's my role in the fight. Is just being visible. Like I did Stoke-on-Trent Pride last month or 2 months ago.
Comedy or?
Yeah, comedy.
Oh right, okay.
Yeah. One of the greatest moments was just this kid comes up to me. I don't know if they were transgender, but they had the transgender flag wrapped around like a cape.
A child, like a young child?
I'm terrible with ages, but I'd say between 9 and 14.
Okay, alright, yeah, that's fair enough. Yeah. So that is a child.
Yeah. And they were like, that's so cool to see a non-binary person actually on stage. My friend is non-binary, and they're they love comedy, but they're always like, oh man, it sucks that I never see I really want to see a non-binary comic, and now I can tell them that you're out there, and that was the fucking sickest.
That's
cool.
cool.
Just this idea that just by existing and doing comedy and just putting myself out there in the world, I can help someone who was like me and was like, oh, I've got to be one or the other, sort of go, actually I don't.
Right.
And at the same time, if I'm gently educating people who, like yourself, or like the audiences I interact with, who are, largely these sort of older audiences who might not have heard of this stuff before, if I'm helping them get an understanding of it while also making them laugh, then that's just, that's the cherry on top.
My favourite joke of yours is still the Argentinian flag, the brick through the window.
Oh, you've ruined it now. Anyone who's listened to this podcast who's not seen that is gonna...
No, they would not know it from that point of view at all.
But I do love that joke.
It is. Yeah. It's wonderful. It's a wonderful joke. Is there anything else that you wanted to talk about? Because we've almost done...
Anything
specifically you want to chat about?
Yeah, I want to talk about sort of positivity.
Okay.
And positivity. I'm HIV positive.
Righto.
No, I'm not.
Watch out, Magic Johnson's in the building.
You know Mr. Rogers is?
No.
American sort of dead now, but presenter. He had a TV program and stuff. And, Mr. Rogers' Neighborhood. He was he was this TV presenter, and he was this force for good and positivity and helping kids. Sort of, for example, his show ran during a time when black people still weren't allowed to use white people's swimming pools.
Okay.
And he had on this show this character who was a police officer who was black, and he had because it was all taking place. It was set in a neighborhood in his home in his back garden.
Yeah.
And he it was during the summer, and so he had a paddling pool out to keep his feet cool. And he invited this black character to just keep his feet keep his feet cool, just dip his toes in the pool with him. Such a nothing thing, wasn't addressed as anything to the kids who were watching, but it was a very clear statement of black people and white people can share pools, and especially because Mr. Rogers was originally a pastor. He was Reverend Fred Rogers. The whole imagery of washing someone's feet is a very sort of allegorical for Jesus and Christianity, and respecting someone deeply. He was just a person who was all about just putting good out in the world and just being a fucking nice person. I suppose the closest thing Australia would have would be Steve Irwin.
Mm-hmm.
Just a fucking ray of sunshine who just wasn't mean and just was nice at every available moment, and just sort of taught kindness in every sort of thing. And I have decided that I want to fucking do that.
Okay.
I want to, I don't, I'm not going to be a children's entertainer because I like swearing too much. But
I like saying fuck.
I like saying fuck.
And cunt.
But I want to do that, man. I want to just be a ray of fucking sunshine for, I don't need, because funny is subjective. People aren't, not everyone's going to find me funny.
Kindness, though.
Kindness, you can just you can just be that. Whether I'm attractive, again, your mileage may vary. I'm definitely not very smart. I'm definitely not very wise. Please don't come to me for advice. I'm not very strong. I'm not very talented. But if I can just be kind, people can be Umby Winters is annoying and preachy, and they misgendered themselves. And they smell, and they're not even that funny, and they're butt ugly. But damn it if they aren't. Just damn it if talking to them just doesn't put a smile on my face, because they make me feel good about myself. And especially in comedy, are you okay?
I'm just laughing at damn it I misgendered myself.
But especially in comedy, I'm sure you've noticed, comedians, there's just such a tendency to be just overly, just irony, just ironic, and hi Hazel. And we're not supposed to acknowledge that you're here. Hazel's here, everybody. Give it up for Hazel.
Who's Hazel? You look cute, darling.
Thank you. So I'm all about lighthearted, bro.
I'm all about lighthearted fun.
Lighthearted fun. Please don't murder me for being not
Are you going to eat that, Rocky?
No,
I've
have
got
it.
another one in the pantry, but...
No, go for it.
No, talk to me about being nice. Thank you for giving me that thing I gave you before.
Yeah, that's all right. Like, I totally get that there's a place in sort of being, you know, ironic or sarcastic and just sort of banter. Obviously, that's, you know, you prod fun at your friends, etc., etc. Like, obviously, that all is good. Like, it's all good-natured fun. But I found that I have a hard time in sort of doing that and then like not fucking it up and like
being horrible
and like don't even intend to. Like, just to share an anecdote, I had some comedians over at my house a few weeks ago.
Thanks for the invite.
I did invite you.
Did you?
Yeah.
What day was it though?
It was.
Was it a Sunday?
It was a Sunday.
Yeah, I obviously doing this and then I was doing Giggle Gang.
Yeah.
So,
but you were invited.
Okay.
I
forget. I forget the things I can't go to.
Yeah. But I had some like comedy folks over, and we played some Mario Kart on the Switch.
Oh.
And
I can't wait for the next invite.
Yeah. And I had specifically. I mean, I don't know what. I don't necessarily need to name them, but I'm gonna. I had Connor Jennings and Erica Ela over.
Okay. I know them.
And they wanted, like, it was their turn because they only have two controllers, so it was their turn to have a little race together. And I just said, you know, Connor, you get player 2 because I respect you less. Yeah, funny, but like I said it, and I was like,
why did I say that?
Why?
Because I don't respect Connor Jennings any less.
Yeah, I do.
Or do you?
Yeah, no, fuck him, he sucks. No, you know, I like Connor. He's good. He's like one of the closest friends I've made since coming to Manchester.
But it's almost fun to be horrible.
It is, but I don't necessarily like that, and I don't necessarily like that about myself. I have done being horrible for fun. Like I did that when I was younger, and I found that like I had a couple people like sort of like actually think I was mean and like that I actually didn't like them, and when they told me that, I felt horrible. So I'm trying not to do it anymore, man. I'm just trying to be like nice and kind and genuine and fun, and if that makes me less funny when I'm not on stage, then so like if that's the price to pay for just knowing that I'm not like hurting people's feelings.
So
like,
is this you publicly saying that you're going to be a nice person? If anyone hears you not being a nice person, they can refer you back to this recording.
Just like, first of all, if I said something and like, or like I did something and like...
Oh, you want this to be like a blanket apology as well?
No, because I don't think I've done anything like that. I don't think I've done anything too bad. And I also don't know how many people are like actually going to listen to the Umby Winters episode of the Giggle Gang podcast.
Depends how well you promote. Like, there's good like regular listeners each week that I assume know some of the comedians but don't know a lot of them.
Yeah.
And then like there's a lot of my friends in Australia who don't know anyone who just like hearing the interesting people.
Like, yeah, so it's not necessarily a blanket apology, but it's just like a sort of, you know...
Would you like to specifically apologise to Connor Jennings?
Connor Jennings, I don't respect you any less. What if you,
then Erica.
Yeah, what if you just edited it so it said Connor Jennings, I don't respect you. But no, you know, it's... And I know he probably doesn't even like think
he wouldn't even remember.
Yeah, like he's not crying himself to sleep over that.
Could be.
But it's just like, I don't know, man. There's totally like... and I don't want to come across as like I'm so much better than you because I don't make fun of people. Like, that's not it at all. Like, it's just sort of, I'm tired of being mean for fun. I just want to be like, the world is on fire. Like, everything is garbage. Everything is terrible. The least I can do is not put more of it out there, you know?
Be nice.
Yeah, I'm just trying to promote being nice. And you don't have to, like, you don't have to be like wankily sort of positive because I am. Like, if you still want to be like ironic and sarcastic, fucking great, I love it. Just like, my banter game is going to be weak from now on.
Oh, well, look, I'm glad that you've come to the realization of where you're at about who you are and what you want to bring to the table.
This is that, like, it's all like I'm not even doing it to be nice. It's just because I know that my banter game is weak, and so I'm just now giving myself an excuse for it. I'm giving myself an out.
I would like to fire back a comeback, but unfortunately, I'm being polite this week.
Yeah.
Umby, we've run over time.
That's fine. I'm getting picked up in 5 minutes anyway.
Well, I need to get photos of you. Do you want to thank anyone?
Fuck. I thank my partner Brendan just for being like the love of my life, who I love very much, and who's definitely going to listen to this podcast.
Good job, Brendan.
Thanks to my family.
Oh, good job, family.
Who are probably also going to listen to this.
That's nice.
And thank you, Matty, for having me.
Oh, that's 2 people that have thanked me today. Usually people don't thank me.
Oh, how...
They usually like just thank random other people, and like it's 2 in a row. I've had like the politest people on today.
I feel like I'm going to get like I'm going to like step away from here and go like, I should have thanked, blah blah blah.
It's fine. The recording's going off now.
Okay.
Bye, Umby. Thank
Bye,
you.
Matt.
Bye.